Thanks for joining us, everybody. This is Lotta with the Bakersmen Collective, and we have another episode of Pondering Potheads here. Thank you, Sean, or 𝗏𝗁𝗀𝗃 on Insta, if you're looking for him, for joining us today. And today we're going to talk about rainbow washing in the I-502 industry because it is proliferative, I would say, to a certain extent, because like definitely with branding on Instagram, it's all over there. With the packaging, that's a whole other conversation. But let's talk about you, Sean. Talk to us. Like, how long you been in the industry? Where you coming from? What sides of the sectors you worked in?
Definitely. What's going on, everybody? My name is Sean Paul. I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia. I've lived in Washington State for about 3 years now. I've worked in the cannabis industry since I got here. I started in retail and was a bud tender, and then quickly moved my way into inventory.
Okay.
Yeah. Did inventory at Evergreen Market. Well, actually, I did retail bud tender at Herbal Nation for like 8 months, and then I did Evergreen Market for like another 8.5 months, maybe.
Yeah.
There was a thing that happened there over some racial profiling that I did not agree with, so I was let go for that. And then I started working with Landrace Labs. They have Landrace Farms, Grass Valley, and Sauce Boss. And then we parted ways in April after some very inappropriate comments were made.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's real. And to that end, I would say hopping around seems to be common in this industry from the people I've known that have worked in the industry to and there for a variety of reasons, like going from retail to cultivation to like transport. That definitely happens, or to inventory, that management. Those elevations happen, but from shop to shop, even retail, trying to find a home is off. It happens often, and it's always some like issue in other words between management and the employee, like that's influences why you part ways anyway. But like the reasonings I hear out here are so wild, like from racism to like not ableism, but discrimination for disabilities. And you got to think about, like, obviously the people who work at a pot shop love pot and use it maybe for medical reasons. So anxiety, mental health, all of those issues are very high in our industry because those are the people who've always been advocates of the plant. So to hear your story, it doesn't, you know what I mean? It seems like shocking, but not uncommon.
It's unfortunate, but not uncommon. And that's the thing that really bothers me, that the more people of color, particularly Black people that I talk to in this industry, I have not found a good story whole yet. We had moments that were really uncomfortable, and I had to set them straight. And that really, I think, is interesting that so many of the owners and management claim to be whatever they want to claim to be, like they want to be anti-racist, they want to be loving, they want to be all-inclusive, they want to be diverse, whatever word that they want to use for the week. I don't think that they ever really talk about what it really should come down to, and that's the anti-Blackness within the I-502.
Yes, I definitely would agree. Tuning in. I totally agree with you about like that. And I think now that I've had some time in the industry to pay attention, it comes from not having anyone in management that is Black, that are people of color. Because like if you could have someone who is on your level telling you how to improve, maybe you would actually listen to them, as opposed to the people at the bottom trying to tell you. And I, in conversing with someone who is studying hospitality management, she explained that in most companies look at management like this, and I like
a triangle.
The triangle. They look at it like this. And in reality, the successful companies, the companies that have the best workplace, the best environment, should be looking at it like this.
Mhm.
And I think that concept has not been discussed in the I-502 industry. I would love to know, when people are starting brands, who consults with them, who helps them with their managerial side, because I've seen HR representatives that are also like an accountant. Those aren't the same thing. It's not possible.
That's interesting you say that. My last job at Landrace, my HR did sales, HR, accounting, and I want to say they were quality control director. And so it's like, wait.
That makes sense.
I feel like you all just want titles. Like, these are a bunch of people who are in a very, very new industry that really nobody knows how to run it, which is interesting because this is just agriculture.
It's been around from the very beginning.
And the fact that they don't know how to interact with Black people shows a very big thing. They think a lot of these because they're management, their position is higher than you, so they must have the better ideas if they're at a better position than you. With that being said, cannabis has been all just appropriated from Blacks and Latina. And because of that, it was called weed because it was grown in the ditches, because it was not a cash crop. Tobacco is a cash crop. You don't sell your weeds, right? Yeah. It would make their the slaves, I don't call them for it's what they were. They would make the slaves more docile. They wouldn't want to fight because they were stoned.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, so this was a plant that our community has used for years, from the fashion, from the verbiage, from the music, everything that has progressed because of cannabis has now been gatekept by white people. And they're the ones telling us what Black people will enjoy or know what to enjoy, when they are the ones doing it wrong the whole time. Half of the conversations are like, yeah, let's target the urban audience. Who says urban?
That's where you messed up.
When I hear urban, it's like urban renewal, like urban housing. It's like, we know who you're talking about when you're saying urban people. Just say Black people, because they're not comfortable with being around Black people. So they have to use any word. People of color. What color? There's tons of people of color.
It's very so that brings us to the next one. Would you describe the I-502 industry as inclusive?
No, not whatsoever. It's inclusive for white people and the white identities and white passing identities. So people who are willing to allow their culture to be appropriated and used for whatever packaging, names. It can't be inclusive when it's not including Black people. That's just easy to say.
Thank you. That's all I want. I mean, like it just has to be stated, because there is some confusion out there. Like for some reason, on the management side, on the regulatory side, like and I know that is an aspect that they're working to fix on the regulatory side, but not really. It's like, it's motions. It's to look like we're going to do something about it. But yes.
And we know what you need and we know what you want, rather than, I think as the Black cannabis community, we need to stop asking for a seat at the table and just be asked to be left alone.
Yeah.
Because we know how to run our own businesses. We are in every other industry and every other jobs sector. So what would make us not able to know our own plant that we've been growing for years, that the only reason you've been allowed to create an industry is because when we were getting arrested, y'all were, forming your little good old boys clubs, you were able to pay for your lawyers, that's a big part of it, is the legal fees that were attached to cannabis. The only people who aren't afraid of the law are the ones that are able to pay for the law.
Yeah. 100%, 100%. And I, the only thing I'm asking for is the home grow. Let me grow my own shit and leave me the fuck alone. You know, to a certain extent. Like I do want to participate in the industry because I see where having that knowledge, having that ability to work with the community is needed. And then the difference between the people that look like us that are working towards that and those that are somewhere in the middle willing to get a check from anybody for anything because they're worried about their own elevation. But let's bring this right on back into the main subject. Are there brands, you know, now that we've stated that it's not inclusive, would you say that there are brands that support and the queer community in practice? Like, you know what I mean?
So when people say support the queer community in Washington State, I'm gonna be just blatant and say it. They support the white queer community. And they forget that the queer community was really started by Black and Latina femmes that wanted their own space away from whites, and they created their own word queer. And it feels like right now the white queer community just keeps coming up with more identities when we've already established, like, you don't really need to define yourself. You can just be you. Yeah, just be you. And they keep moving the goalposts at the same time. So it's like they're changing identities and they're moving the goalposts. I feel like it's like the 3-point line all over again.
I was thinking that because as I was preparing for this, I was like, oh, they added more letters. And it was to make it more inclusive, and I fully support that. But like now it's becoming so heavy. You know what I mean? And like it's so heavy that I have to break down all these letters. I have to learn all these letters to break it down to get someone for someone to understand it. And yes, the idea is that they want to understand it, right? So like do that. Participate in that conversation all the way around. But what if like we just didn't have to ask someone who they were or what they were? Like what if we just said, hey, how are you doing today? Like it was a normal transaction. Like
how would you like for me to identify you, and so that when we have a conversation, what would you like to be called? I like to be called Sean Paul. What is your name?
Lotta. I go by Lotta.
Go by Lotta. Cool. From here on out, I will always call you Lotta. Anyone else says anything otherwise, no, that's Lotta. You respect Lotta. I don't need to give you a gender. I already know who you are. Yeah. I don't care what you do with your time, as long as you're not causing harm. And that brings a very interesting point, that a lot of this is because it's really white men who are still controlling a lot of this stuff, right? And they're pushing a lot of these toxic masculinity ideas.
Yes. And I wouldn't say, yes, that's a fact. It's unfortunate because I know great men,
yeah,
or Black, that like have done so much to destroy that idea, that like helped me destroy the colonial and patriarchal things that are in my head just because of how they look at life. And it sucks that there are so many on the other side, you know what I'm saying, still upholding these bullshit beliefs, you know? It's like, that's the most frustrating part about this. Like, even some of your own people are like, what the fuck are you doing? And like, you can't see yourself as wrong.
And see, that's the problem, is when, and that's where I don't think a lot of white people really understand the whole point of the queer community's origins. It was to really start breaking down labels and be allowing people to define themselves and letting them just live their own life. When there's the new edition, I've been looking into it, the Two-Spirit. I've known that my entire life, you know.
Yes.
But that is not my culture. So I hope that the people who now want to identify as Two-Spirit are of the cultures that Two-Spirit is a thing, because that is a very serious appropriation. That why I keep saying white people just keep changing the goalposts, where it's like, I'm this, but I can also be this, but I can also be this. Like, do you understand that you're decolonizing your mind and you're just breaking down gender confines and sexuality confinements, and that really you're saying that I don't want to be labeled because it's really stressful to be labeled all the time. Yeah, it is. But how do you think Black people feel? How do you think Black queers feel? How do you think Black queer women feel? You know, how do you think fat, Black, queer, able, all those things? And that's why white people really will never understand intersectionality, which is a major part of the queer community, because they might have something, but at the end of the day, they can go back to being white. And the whole structure is set up for them to just live, not necessarily succeed, but for them to just exist.
Yeah, and I that is factual, non-debated on this end. I've observed it, and it is I've observed it for a very long time, especially working in the veterinary industry. It was an easy transition for me from the veterinary industry to the cannabis industry, still looking like me, because I've been just the only me in the facility for as long as I've been in the workforce. You know what I mean? Except for my very first job. That was the wildest thing. That was the most enlightening experience of my entire life, to have a Black manager, a majority Black or Latino staff. Like, thank you, Florida, because it was the realest spot of business, and stuff moved. There was no half stepping. There was no need to explain yourself. You know what I mean? And there was no disrespect allowed. Like, who you're just like, okay, so you don't like who you're speaking to, so you want to speak to a manager, and when you get to the manager and the manager looks like me, what are you gonna say? What are you gonna say except you're sorry? You know what I mean? And that's like that little amount, that little bit of representation is not even something that they can fathom, that they can understand. You know what I mean? Like that having that support. I can't go to my supervisor when I am literally like having a negative experience, like, you know what I mean? Not my main supervisor, when I'm having a negative experience, because he can't understand that this experience is only negative because I'm a Black queer woman. That's the only reason.
Let's talk about how a lot of people don't understand what being Black means, and they think that it just means your skin tone. Yeah. And that's not what it is, because there's a lot of people who are in many communities and many spaces that act white, and they will shuck, jive, and do anything just to be accepted. And you know, I'm sorry that they have to use that survival tactic to make sure that they're not being harmed, but they don't understand that what they're doing is harming the rest of the community, because while they're willing to allow these jokes, allow the appropriation, when people is like, that's not right, you shouldn't do that. My Black friend is cool with it. What do you mean? Because nobody has set them straight.
Never in their life. No one has said, nah, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you're not even going to go there. And if you want to know why, we can have that conversation, but I do not owe you an explanation.
Thank you.
If I choose to give it, you're welcome.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So then, like, okay, so we got to keep this rolling. You know what I mean? We don't want
to shout out my old manager, Whitney, at Herbal Nation. She was the only Black manager I've ever had here in the 502. Black manager, not Black appearing. Because when we had some very serious racial moments, I was able to talk to her and be like, yo, I'm not tripping, right? Because we know how this scene acts. They will gaslight the hell out of you and be like, no, you're crazy. This is how people act. And you're like, no, this is not. You're dehumanizing me. No, stop with that.
Yes, for sure. Now that we've talked about the queer community, that is the portion of the queer community that is accepted here in Washington, definitely fully represented during Pride, for the last Prides that I've gone to, and I honestly don't want to go to another one, won't be doing it. I would rather fly to Atlanta and have the pride that I want to have.
I'm gonna go to Janelle Monáe's pool party. Janelle Monáe's pool party has been giving me life all summer. Just like, oh man, just
hit us up, Janelle.
The joy that you see in her pool parties, just everyone having a good time. So shout out Janelle Monáe, because those are spaces that we should be learning from. Like, okay, this is how you cultivate a Black space for us to just be ourselves, because we don't have that here in the 502 or in Washington State. Because, like, let's be honest, it's all the white passing or white adjacent, all anti-Black, because they all constantly talk about racism, and they don't understand that racism is the hierarchy, but everyone can perpetuate, even Black people, anti-Blackness. So until that is addressed, then they're constantly going to just keep using these colonizer mindsets and keep hurting Black people.
Exactly. And could you name any brands that could be accused of rainbow washing, if you will?
Like the former company I worked with, Landrace Farms, their Sauce Box brand is doing Pride joints and Pride cartridges. And while I do think that is admirable, and donating to charity is the easiest way to seem like you're doing something.
Wait, they are donating to charity with a portion of the proceeds.
They are.
Okay.
Was it done? Who knows? You would have to actually ask them about it. Also, the group that they're with is somebody that they know. So I do feel like it's a little bit of nepotism, because it is a white passing queer group, not a really Black inclusive queer group.
Gotcha. But at least it's I mean, like, you donate who you choose to at your will. That is technically your right with fundraising in your funds. But to be more inclusive with the industry, you know what I mean? Like, there are organizations that you can donate to, you can fund. We do have a link in our bio that, you know what I mean, you could support, or even as little as you turn to your nearest queerest friend and slide them a few dollars, you know what I'm saying? Like, just send them a cash app, drop them some money, because, like, it's hard out here. If you're trying to support something, do that, like on the most local level, you know? I know Buddies is another company that did do rainbow cartridges, and they donated a portion of their proceeds to an organization. I'm not quite sure which one, but I know that's a thing and has been going on. I did see 𝗓𝗏's drop some unicorn glitter packaging, and you know, their products are quality, but what's the point of that?
Why can't we be inclusive all the time? Why does it have to be for the month? Why do you not explore what the whole history of that community is and stop whitewashing it? Because just like we're hearing about so many other people in the media, it's like a quick tangent of Lin-Manuel and In the Heights, when we constantly show a white adjacent version of what a culture is, then we're constantly just really hurting what the really truth of the culture was. And a lot of this is rooted in Black and Latina culture. When we just say, like, yeah, dude, it's okay to sell my culture. Yeah, even though you donate whatever portion of a charity, cool. But when you're not doing it for the community, Black, Latina, femmes, and I use the word femmes because a lot of people don't know how to properly address the community. It is femmes. So when we're dealing with the people who are receiving the most harm are not the ones who are actually getting the help, then I just look at it as just, it's a facade, because it looks like, hey, we care this month. Like, okay, well, shouldn't you care all the time?
Like, I'm here always. Like, so you only see me in June. Like, I'm just walking around through life. But like in June, you're like, oh, what up, dog? You deserve some love. And I would say to that end with that movie, which I do want to see, in the Heights, I believe is what it's called. It's in speaking with someone, it was the first time that they've seen that aspect of the immigrant story told, and just on the big screen, you know what I mean? Not from the whitewashed view, from there, even if it's still whitewashed, you know what I mean? Like to actually see it, it's like we're getting somewhere on screen.
So my thing is, why should we keep continuing to accept crumbs? When we know how to build a fucking bakery, why do we keep accepting crumbs? We don't even need their space for a bakery. We know how to build our own bakeries. And if anything, we're probably going to build a better bakery. It's going to be more efficient and we're going to have better food.
Like we can feed the whole fucking village with little.
We do everything better. And that's the problem. It's for them. That's the problem for them.
Yeah.
And that's why these cultures are constantly exploited, because they keep having to recreate something, keep having to, you know, redefine the wheel essentially, when really, like, when we keep adding wheels, at what point is it too many fucking wheels?
Like, when are we moving this bitch? When are we moving this bitch out?
Is a millipede better than a centipede?
No. It takes a long fucking time to get somewhere.
It takes a long time. If all those legs aren't coordinated as well, yo, get out of here with that.
The energy expended. You know what I mean?
Sorry. I was gonna say those brands such as like that are doing these things, like Uncle Ike's as well. They're a big one. Like, yeah, let's talk about that. You know, they are in Capitol Hill, which is the historically gay community. They have a rainbow sign, so it makes it look like they're accepting, but they have been historically anti-Black to their customers and to their staff members. So for me, it's just disingenuous. And again, because people don't know this, these movements are rooted in Black feminism and Latina feminism, it gets co-opted by everybody else.
It surely does every single time. It's like, oh yeah, that is really good. That is really good. That is for us.
Can you show me how to do it?
No, it's for us.
Can you show me how to do that real quick?
Let me.
How do you
oh my God! Look at this interesting head scarf.
Well, because you work for the company and you came up with an idea while you worked at the company. It's technically our idea.
Ours.
And that's a big problem, is Black people are not able to claim their own intellectual property, which is a huge part of what cannabis is. Cannabis culture, whether it's the music, whether it's the food, whether it's the fashion, whether it's the lingo, whether it's the education, we're just constantly pushed out of our own spaces.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe that these brands know that this is performative allyship? Like, do you think like they know, right? You have to know.
You have to know. At this point of everything going on around the world, of so many people being so vocal all over every media space, you kind of have to be willfully ignorant or have certain beliefs if you're going to be doing these things. I mean, people don't just randomly do things. I don't believe.
No.
Well, let me rephrase that. Businesses don't just randomly do things, because when it comes to money, they've planned everything. They planned all of it. They're like, wow, yes, Black History Month. We're gonna put some MLK packaging and say we're donating to this Black community organization. Okay, cool. It's March. What do we do now? Who do we help? Who do we help? Who do we help? It's like, wait, you can't help everybody all the time. And again, when you look at the pyramid, when you help the people at the bottom, everybody else is going to be able to succeed. But when you constantly just help yourself, then you're a culture vulture.
So, I mean, like, as a business owner, frankly, as a business owner, you are absolutely correct. Like, I choose what my brand is going to talk about. Every single detail at the end gets run by me. And yes, I am a, sole proprietorship. I am an entrepreneur, but you've got to think on paper, even if they have multiple locations, cannabis businesses are small businesses still by who they, you know what I mean? Like, and how do I explain this simply? You're small businesses because you have one person working so many positions. So in leadership at the very top, at most, there's 2 to 3 or 4 people. You know what I mean? In upper management of any corporation. If none of those people are of color, how can you really understand what is happening in that community? Because one of you or 2 of you listen to hip hop, because a Black friend. Like, what are you talking about? How's that even fucking possible? I'm sorry. Like,
This
so.
is the truth. I know what's going on. I listen to hip hop. I know the cool weed. I follow cookies.
Like, and then even if you know good weed, now we're talking about like much more than just good weed, because like you've got to know how to treat people. So when I'm telling you I don't feel heard, and I'm not to say that that's the situation I'm in, but when your employees are telling you they don't feel heard, and you're like, well, well, what could we do? So now I'm telling you're telling me to come and talk with you and trust you, and I'm telling you what the issue is, and you want me to tell you how to fix the problem as well. But if the problem is your communication style, and I've expressed that to you, and then it's like we extrapolate 10 situations down the road, what kind of conversation are we having? Do you even care? Like, why am I continuing to give you, why do I have to solve the problem that I'm not creating? You don't pay me enough.
Yeah, that was my thing, is you don't pay me enough, because I swear you're asking me to do like 4 or 5 jobs technically.
Technically,
like 4 or 5. You want me to
technically.
do HR. You want me to be diversity, equity, and inclusion officer. You also want me to do my job.
Yeah.
What else do you want me to do?
And be happy. You want me to be happy, like have a positive attitude while on top of it, like the world as we know it as a community, whether you're queer, whether you're POC or Black, like however you want to divide yourself today, it's fucked up out here. So like I am trying to pretend like it's not fucked up, and I'm not selling something that people are using to deal with how fucked up their existence is. Like that's what is actually happening. Like, when you're a bartender, like the bud tender is in the same situation where people come with their grief and they just like are trying to find something to resolve their issue. So I'm taking a lot of that on while trying to pretend like that's not
also
happening.
a therapist, an unlicensed therapist, because they won't give you the training to actually be a therapist. Because bartenders and bud tenders, like, when you see over 1,000 different people and you're loved by people, because there's a difference between just the person that comes up and does their job and the bud tender that's able to just talk to people. Just like you humanize every single one of your customers. And it's like, how's your day going? That question alone stumps and throws so many people. How's my?
Whoa.
No one. Do you want to know? Yeah, I asked you how's your day going, so I can help you get something that's actually going to help you. If I don't know you, I can't really help you. We have to form some kind of communication and relationship.
Yeah.
So that's where I think that the people who are in community with their consumers are the ones who are going to benefit the most, because you're going back and forth. What do you like? Okay, let me see if I can find something for you, or if I can switch something up to suit your needs a little bit more, because I also want you to be happy, because you happy makes me happy, which keeps me in business. Because really, what is the whole purpose of doing business? Using whatever skills you have to alleviate other people's lives, the burdens in other people's lives.
No, not in our society. It's the purpose of doing business is to gain capital, like to have assets, to have money, to have things here. Yeah. That's what At least that's how I am seeing how some people run their business. Inward, I would say inward, because outwardly facing, that's what they're gonna say. They're definitely gonna
the
say,
charities,
yeah,
with everyone that they donate to, with when they show their commercial, they have all the faces of color that they have, but in reality, they only have one black guy.
yeah, but or they don't even listen to that black guy.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. It's like, yo, that's why I kept fucking with my old company, because I'm like, wait, so the only black person is a biracial person. Y'all are really doing the bare minimum. I'm not going to tolerate this. I was like, yo, we need to hire some more black people. And they're like, we try to, just hire anyone. I'm like, but if you're trying to be inclusive, how about you include the people who like really want to be in this just as much as everybody else, like the people who've been excluded, and even at the end of the day, you're still not really comfortable with them working for you, because it's like you're gonna make comments about how, oh, it's like a club up in there. It's like, what you mean it's like a club up in there? Like what? Because we listen to music we like and we enjoy ourselves, we're all laughing. It's not a club. We're just enjoying our work.
Do you know how many times, if I am like grooving because of the music that is on, if I'm having a good time and a customer walks in, they start dancing with me, and then like we have such a good time for the rest of that interaction, it matters that I enjoy what I'm doing on the other side. Because when I am very frustrated with my position, even though you're supposed to like it is, we're humans.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So when you are frustrated with what is happening around you, then you know what I mean? Like, I cannot have a fake positive attitude when I am trying to uplift someone who is down in the dumps on the other side. Like, you feel crappy, I feel crappy too. And sometimes that works really well with the customer on the other side.
Commiserate.
Yeah, but sometimes that person wants you to do the work.
And that's the thing. It's like when the customer is having a bad day, like, we want to connect with them, because it's like, yes, some of my favorite customers, like when they would have a bad day, I'm like, but I'm not gonna let it make me have a bad day. But I see them on the regular. I've noticed how their life is going. Yeah, I'm gonna say it, I am concerned from all of my consumers, because my consumers make me. If it wasn't for the people that got me here, I wouldn't be here. So I do want them to have a fulfilling life. If there's even just a conversation or a recommendation that I can give somebody that's going to uplift their day, why not? That could uplift their day. That could uplift their week, their month. You don't know how people are consuming these products on their own. The more you talk to your customer, you actually know how they consume these products. So you're like, wow, okay, I don't know if you've noticed, but you went from like an eighth a week to buying a half ounce a week. You good, man? Like,
what's up?
You good?
Yeah, but here's something else that owners and that they don't seem to understand. Because I am who I am, even though it leads to negative interactions with some, because I am a Black queer woman being right here, some people on the other side that look like me are thrilled when they walk into our shop. They are so happy to have a conversation with me and listen to what I have to say, because I make them feel seen. You know what I mean? Just being here, which is why I totally agree with your statement that the people that my consumers make me, my customers make me, because they are, and which is why the Bakersmen Collective exists. You know, while I may operate in that world, you are absolutely correct. We need to have our own. I don't need your crumbs. You know what I mean? I'm here because I want to play and I want to learn. But what I've learned is, yeah, we can do this. yeah, we got it.
It's not hard. I'm like, wait. Yeah. Agriculture, chemistry, business, health and sciences. I'm like, we have all that. We have all that in the community.
Plus, care for fellow human beings, actual care, like, because we're at the bottom, because like just fixing things for us means everything's good for everybody. Yes. You can't tell me that history hasn't proven that. y'all couldn't get this shit together in this country until we got you. You couldn't get the capital that you claimed till we got you. You couldn't get the music pumping the way you needed it to sell records, to go country to country, to get shit going till we made that shit.
And they were like, oh shit, what are they playing? How are they playing that? Hey yo, Elvis. Hey yo, I know you really didn't do shit in the war and you just made a bunch of racist propaganda films, but can you just go copy them and then like bring it back over here and just like create rock and roll? And the Black community is like, what? Nah, we've had that for decades. Decades. And yo, let's talk about amazing, just real quick, amazing women guitarists. Talk about Elizabeth Cotten, you know, amazing guitarist from North Carolina. Okay. She didn't record until later in her 60s. Fuck, I'm really high right now, and I'm really.
Yeah, I know. It's all right. It's all right. Folks still potheads, but music history it's the best part is that on top of it being Pride Month, I think for me the greatest thing is that it's Black American music appreciation.
Billie Holiday. How did I forget Billie Holiday? Yeah.
Yeah. But this month in all is like to support and push Black music, because like it started it all, and honestly what it's done for cannabis culture, let's not even talk about it, you know what I mean? Like it's done so much. So final question for you, because like we don't want to just rant and harp on all of the things that are negative about it. We just want to speak and point to the reality of what we could do to fix it, because if we don't express it, if we don't talk about it, how, as my mom would always say, closed mouths do not get fed.
Closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah, so I'm not shutting up about nothing, but I also understand that you are not going to give me space to speak because you really don't care what I have to say. So for the people that care, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. You know what I'm saying? But like, what is an ideal response that a company can take to show that they actually support the community? Like, what do you need to do? Like, besides, as we pointed out, hire people of color, give us like actual positions where you listen to what we have to say. But like, what else do you see I-502 could do?
Yeah, what the I-502 can do is, first off, like we just pointed out, hire Black people. When you hire Black people, and actually not just hire Black people, but put them in positions where they can make decisions for the company, then you're going to have a huge culture shift. You're going to have people actually wanting to not even target, because I'm sorry, that was my marketing brain, but people who are able to be in community with their own community that wants to be engaged, and their own community is probably the most progressive community there is when it comes to defining brands. Like, if your consumers define who you are, because you can make a product, but if your consumers want to use it in a totally different aspect, that's on them, you know? Like
it absolutely is.
So if these companies want to really make sure that they're helping Black people, they need to actually help Black people. They need to move out of the way. They need to say, hey, maybe these licenses are too expensive. Maybe we should actually make things free, because the more that they keep pushing this profit over people mentality in cannabis, it's going to just be bastardized like every other industry, and the amazing medical properties that cannabis has is going to be completely forgotten about, because we're pushing so much technology right now. We're blasting faster than we ever thought we could think about cannabis. And when it's going to be the same good old boys club that's defined every other industry that sucks, redefining an industry that we've made amazing on the underground, it's just going to be like another Macklemore situation.
Yeah, and I hate it. I hate it. I hate that I can see it, and I hate that I can see it happening, which is why T.B.C exists, because like I have to talk about it. But and that's why we created the Discord community, because if you talk about it too much on any social media, they'll pull you down. They'll shadow ban you. They They pause and delete your videos. So it's like these networks exist, they're just super private, and I'm okay with that because not everybody should be invited to the damn cookout.
If we're not cool, you don't get an invite. That's just how it is. If we're not cool, you don't get an invite. And that's not a plight against you. I just don't know you, and we haven't been able to come to a way that we can vibe together. Because I'll invite anyone to my cookout. But if it's for a cookout for me and my people that I'm in community with, then I'm only going to invite my community. And it's nothing against you. Just maybe you don't vibe with them. Maybe you should learn how to vibe with people better. Another thing that I would say is, you brought up a really good point about talking about these things. If we were able to coordinatedly, I don't know if I just made up that word, if we made a more coordinated effort to actually say like, hey, this is a place I want to like air my experience because I've been harmed, and because racism is allowed in America. You can call. At my previous job, I was when my coworker would say "𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓" to me all the time, and when I brought that up, it was allowed, and they were like, "Well, we spoke to him, and we don't, we did what we did," and it's like, what did you do? You just spoke to him? Like, that's fucking racist. I told him many times to stop saying that to me. I shouldn't have to go so many times of having to experience someone saying racist shit, because in other places around the world, people would really get hurt for being a racist and being marginalizing a group. When you marginalize certain groups, sometimes that can cause that puts you in danger. And that's what these people don't understand, is when they say these not just harmful things, but very degrading and derogatory comments. Like my director at Landrace, Ryan Savini, said, I learned, I got my swagger because a black guy on my high school basketball team told me to listen to hip hop.
Who said you got swagger? Who said that?
Who said you had swagger? I don't give a fuck what you listen to. Third off, why the fuck are you telling me? Fourth, you're lucky we're at work. Because like, there's a really big thing like in the South, like fighting words. Like fighting words is a real thing. That's why like I don't think up here they understand it. It's like you really have
absolutely not. That is not a concept that really goes down, especially, and it's weird because Washington State has like Mortal Kombat laws. Like if you like bump into somebody, like you want to go and they're like, yeah, let's go, and you start fist fighting, the cops aren't going to break it up, but like I guess the winner of the fight goes to jail. Like one of you have to spend the night in jail. But like I bring this up because like for that to exist on law, but so many people not understand like the things that like the respect that is required in other places, the stuff that you will fight about, you know what I mean? In other places, like it's just not comprehensible here. Like that, like kind of standard of ethics. I would say I accept like, racism in the South a lot easier. It's more palatable because they understand that. Like, and they're like, okay, we're gonna fight. Like they're ready for that.
Everybody has their place in the South, but when that happens, and it's not that segregation was a good thing, but when everybody had focused on their own communities, you solved your own problems. Up here, when everybody is secretive about how they actually feel, right? It comes out in the microaggressions, where in the South, like if people don't fuck with you, they will let you know. Whether you agree with that or not, that's up to you and what was said and at that moment. But you don't have to fuck with everybody, and that's okay. But you do need to live in community and make sure that you're not causing harm to
basic people. Respect. So when I walk in the room and say good morning, regardless of how you feel, you say good morning back. Because that little thing, that's fighting words right there.
Now, for me, like you don't have to say good morning, but like you know, like when people are in the room and they acknowledge you, like, yo, they're giving you space, like welcoming you, like just be kind. Like it, niceness is obligation. Kindness is an actual act.
So there's two ends to that, because like if I'm in my space,
Mhm.
yeah, that's perfectly like if I'm in my space, I am in control of that. You know what I mean? But in the workplace, that, you know what I mean? There's two separate concepts. Like, as much as I do not want to say anything to anybody on a regular, or or have those conversations, I'm at work, so I will speak to you.
And I tell people at work, we do work. If we're not talking about work, and you don't know how, and this is why I don't like talking to most people at work, because a lot of people don't have the emotional or intellectual capacity to have these very nuanced conversations. Oh, did it freeze?
Yeah, like sometimes I feel like the conversations
Okay.
conversations get too hot. It gets
Yeah.
too hot, and the internet hates it.
Exactly. So the issue with that, it's like when you don't talk about work, you're not talking about progressing things. It's not that you're talking about like, hey man, I haven't noticed the diversity here. Can we get some more, like, more people that look like me? And then everyone's gonna say, can we just get some more people that look like me? And then we get so many more people that aren't white. So we have so many influences of different methods of problem solving and going about living their lives. But at work, I'm there to do work. I'm not there to be friends. We're there to do a job. Maybe later on we could potentially be friends after work.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly we might be able to have a smoke. That's cool. But that's the issue up here. I've noticed as well in the 502 is this false sense of family at every job. Is everyone has to be like talking to everybody and know what's going on. It's like, I don't have to tell you what's going on in my life. That's totally okay. That's totally okay. Educate me on this job. That's why I'm here. I want to know more about this industry. But the more we talk about friendships, and I don't want to hear about it.
I think it's because like we have a very specific mindset, and it's not expansive. It's not wide here. So like we can't correlate on all things. Like
Correct.
the things that I'm thinking about daily, like the things that affect my existence, none of you even know happened.
Exactly. And see, that's the thing. It's like we don't know what's going on in each other's lives, especially a Black person's life. You don't know the harm that's happened to them. Not saying that any other person hasn't happened, but because they don't understand intersectionality, I again don't want to get into these nuanced conversations with most white people, because again, it's not my job to educate people. If you want me to break out some time, pay me for it. Take me out to dinner. Like, do something for me. Like, I'm not gonna just have these very important conversations over and over and over and over to people that don't want to listen. It's not that they can't listen, they don't want to listen.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell everybody, you want to know, the internet's there. Go read a fucking book.
There, a slight Google search can help you. A slight Google search, buddy. So
Critical race theory. A lot of these people don't have the mental capacity to understand that.
yeah, I just had that conversation yesterday, even with a customer that was like, "What? Like what? Like this is happening?" I was like, "Yeah, buddy, go down a rabbit hole." And he was like, "Thank you," but it's because that is a person who genuinely cared. You know what I mean about and acknowledge my existence in everything, in every part of that conversation. So yeah, you can get some free education, but the rest of y'all gonna have to drop some dollars, you know what I mean? Or like come in here, you know what I mean? Join our Discord, participate, you know what I mean? Like support the family, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like these are the spaces where it's like, hey guys, like you should be fucking paying for reparations. Like if you're white in this space, you really should be paying somebody for their labor. Black people, and other people of Afro descent, you know, this is just our culture. And other people of other cultures have another great amount of infinite wisdom within their cultures. But when we constantly allow this European, or not even just European, but just these colonizer mindsets, you're never going to be able to enjoy your individuality, because you're constantly going to have to be putting on airs so that you're not going to be taken down a peg.
That is a fantastic way to end this wonderful conversation. Thank you, Sean, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Another Pondering Potheads segment. Shout out to y'all in the Discord, to those tuning in on YouTube for the later recording of this. The link is in the description down below. Yep. And we're definitely tagging 𝗷𝗀𝗀𝗏𝗃, so you can follow him on Instagram, because he's always talking about it. Someone has to, you know.
I would say follow me on my Twitter. It's
okay.
𝗓𝗏𝗃𝗁𝗏 times 𝗓𝗏𝗃𝗁𝗏𝗃𝗁𝗏𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃𝗁𝗃 that we can actually make change is to actually talk about it.
I have been really wanting to get into the legislative, you know what I mean, space that we have out here. Like I've gone to a couple of LCB board equity meetings, whether in person or not, but they are infrequent and like kind of hard to participate in with the timing. And I know that is on purpose, but government positions. Also in the last Pondering Pothead segment, we got into just why the statement that the board is corrupt kind of sounds real.
It is. No, it's 100% real. When it's a bunch of non-blacks, maybe one token that they're like, they check the boxes, right? Like it's not, it's just pandering, right? Yeah. And so for me, I think a big part of this is if we are collective and we do economic boycotts and we say we're not going to shop at these shops collectively, like we all have to do this together. We're going to say we're going to support this shop. We like this company. Why? Because they care about the community and they're not just trying to get money out of us. Because I can give my money to anybody. Yeah. I only want to give my money to people who actually care about my existence. Yeah. So if we do economic boycotts, why not?
Why not?
Why not? Why not? Oh, and we need to get rid of this like excise tax. It's up to 47%. 3 times markup. That's only hurting customers.
Buddy, it's because they lost out on the money they were making from alcohol. So now they are like running it with cannabis. You know what I mean? So that's why like we can't even worry about bringing y'all in. We can't survive out here. What are you talking about? There's not enough money. Of course there is. Of course there is. It's made up. Of course there is. And the weed can only, you know what there isn't enough of? Good weed. There's not enough of good weed. That's the commodity.
Is there's too much mediocrity. Too much mediocrity. White mediocrity. We're coming for you.
All right, my guy. Let's get out of here. Everybody out there, stay baked.
Smoke it up. Peace.
Peace.